Today we're actually out doing a few gardening things because it's beautiful out. So we're trying to get a few jobs done this weekend so that it gets us just that little bit ahead. And one of the jobs is what I'm actually about to show you here. We finally decided where we wanted to plant our Jerusalem artichoke tubers. I believe it goes by some other names, but essentially what Jerusalem artichoke is a tuber forming sunflower, for lack of a better way to put it. I believe, and I will double check this, I believe it's actually either the same species or a very close relative of what we think of as sunflower. So very versatile plant as far as growth habit and that sort of thing. But this is something that I've wanted to have for quite a few years, and we did actually get a few tubers at our old place, but they never really took off, and we think it was the location. They got full sun, but it was really poor soil. So here at the new property, we are going to plant a patch in a spot that we don't mind it spreading, because this is one thing about this particular plant. Once you put it in there, it's very hard to get it all out if you ever changed your mind, and very hard to kill it back, although there are ways to do that. Being said, we don't want to kill it back because it's one of those useful perennial edibles. So I'm going to show you what we've got going on. So here's the little area, and I actually forget exactly how many are in there. I have two kinds that I actually was lucky enough to get from my friend Myles when I went last fall. So these tubers have been kind of waiting for their opportunity to go in, and what better time than now? But basically what I've done is I did till this area more or less to try to break up the sod. As a bit of a digression here, as far as it comes to tilling is not necessarily the most popular gardening method, and I 100% agree on a lot of the merits of some of the other ways of preparing garden beds. That being said, I still am kind of on the mindset that tilling has its place, but it should probably be used a little bit sparingly. Now, in this particular case, what I'm doing today, I'm planting something that has a growth habit that's quite aggressive. So my purpose to tilling was just to give it the opportunity to spread. And then this won't get tilled again, essentially. It'll be left as a perennial bed. That's the plan anyways. We are going to apply some mulch and stuff to it to help with some weed suppression, also keep some moisture in. So that's possibly the other side to the fence here. Pardon the pun, since I'm putting this in right next to a fence, is what we're doing here in particular is we are going to apply a mulch afterwards. And what we're actually going to try fairly extensively, we think, on our sort of more conventional garden that we were working on the other day is the same thing. We're really liking so far when we mulched the garlic, just A, how well it did, B, how well it keeps moisture in, and C, you've got that nice cover, which helps with your loss of soil and all that other stuff. All this being said, we're not gardening in a huge space, relatively speaking, and even though we have the tiller and we do use it, we don't necessarily use it in a big way. So that's just some food for thought. So as I was saying, here's the bed, and we have a fence. This is kind of the gate as you come up our driveway. It gets quite a bit of sun. We're now going on 3:30, 4 o'clock, and it's just starting to get in the shade. This gets quite a bit of full sun for most of the day. It's sort of outside of where we would potentially ever pasture anything. This area is not very wide, and it's down by the road. So in the future we might pasture on that side of the fence, but we won't on this side. And we also have room to expand. If we wanted to make this bed bigger, we could let it expand sort of out. So that's what we're going to do. Now I'm going to we have quite a few of these, they're basically old cedar rails that are not in fantastic shape, but they'll make an excellent border to a garden. This is kind of going together pretty quick, so it's more of just a border than anything. I'm not overly concerned about competition per se here, but at least then we know where they are, for lack of a better way to put it. Because I'm guessing the first year they're not going to be as massive as they will grow to become over time. But there's the border. I am going to go get one wheelbarrow full of some composted manure and just work that in a little bit. I'm not going to add a lot of amendment to this because I know they're a relatively hardy plant, but still, figure why not? I can do that now. So I'm going to go do that, and then I'm going to get planting. Well, there's my wheelbarrow of compost from the manure pile, and you can see it's not perfectly broken down, but pretty much. It's still got some of the woody matter in there, but to be honest with you, I'm okay with that. So I'm going to shovel that out and spread it around a bit. And then this is my new favorite, well, not new, I've had one in the past and quite enjoyed it, but my favorite garden tool, handy little garden tool, because basically it does the same thing. It's like a little mini handheld tiller. And you basically just work it in a little bit. Well, there's the little bed, which isn't bad for throwing something together in a very short period of time. I put my amendments in, so now, the moment of truth. How many Jerusalem artichoke tubers survived in this bucket? We're about to find out. You can see there's one actually coming up right here, so I'll have to be a little careful when I take this out. And I thought of the other name, sunchokes. That's the other name that they often call these. So, a bit of a reveal. These have been in here since, oh boy, last fall, we'll put it that way. But I would say it's looking pretty promising. Looks like there's quite a bit of growth going on in there. So I'm going to carefully take these out of here and see if I can find the 3 different ones. Most of these are a white variety, but there is 3 in here that are actually a red variety. So plan is to plant them somewhere a little different, just to keep them separate. But let's see what I can find in here. So you probably can't see them super well. Guess you can see them a little better down there. But managed to get them all apart. Found the 3 red tubers, so I'll have them in a bucket separate to plant in another location. And these are all the white variety of the sunchokes. But you can see, this was the first one. It was already starting to go green. But a lot of them haven't quite just yet. So I'm going to put a little bit of mulch on top of these, just some straw mulch. And hopefully by the fall these will have grown into be something kind of substantial. Might even get an opportunity to eat a couple of them, we'll see. It may not look super pretty, but there's our bed of Jerusalem artichokes, or sunchokes, the white tubered variety that we have. And honestly, I'm hoping they do really well here. I mean, they were literally growing in a bucket and spent the winter no problem there, so there should be enough to give us a pretty good perennial patch of these guys to harvest from in the years to come. 95% of the job's done. I just have the 3 red tubers to plant, and I'm going to plant them in one of our blue barrel buckets in the garden, more or less because I kind of want to multiply them this year, and then or maybe even for 2 years, we'll see, and then kind of find a spot for them. That's just me being funny with it. Most people would probably just have planted them together, but anyways, I'm going to pack up here and go and do that last little bit. Well, there is the 3 red-skinned variety. You can see they're quite a bit darker than the other one. So, for fun, because I only have the 3 of these, I am going to put them in this cut-off blue barrel. And right now, I'm going to disturb them a little bit, but there's quite a bit of the wood sorrel, which we do like, but at the same time, we don't need all of it. And there is some purslane seeds in here, so those can come up around these, that's no problem. But when we think they've kind of filled the bed a bit, we can essentially dump the whole thing, because this is small enough to do that, and harvest everything so that we can eventually put the barrel back into production of something else. But we've got lots of barrels, as you can see, and I think we even have a few more to add this year. So this is a great spot, so I'm just going to make 3 little holes and get these planted. that's them. 1, 2, and you can barely see the third one up here. So we'll follow the progress on these and kind of see what they look like in the fall. We may dig them up and either repropagate them or find them a new spot. Well, that's our, I guess, little video on planting the sunchokes or Jerusalem artichoke, whatever you want to call them. Member of the sunflower family that produces tubers that are edible. Not really a lot of tips here, just the big one is when you plant these, make sure you're putting them somewhere that you want them, because they're pretty hard to get rid of. And I would personally probably avoid planting them in sort of your annual vegetable gardens, just for that reason. Unless, of course, you don't mind them popping up, which I suppose doesn't really matter, but I have heard and I have seen they can be quite tenacious. So, which is what we kind of actually want here. We want them to take off and do well. So we'll see how they do this summer. And thank you very much, Myles, for those artichoke tubers. They're I can't believe they survived all this time in the bucket and look pretty good. I think there's only 2 little ones that had rotted. So very much appreciated and looking forward to seeing how they do.